How's it going, sports card fans, wrestling collectors? Tom here from CollectAWrestlePalooza. Today we're counting down the top 5 highest prices paid for collectibles from the legendary wrestling family, the Von Erichs. Stay tuned, you're going to want to see number 1. It is a high grade and an astounding price for an iconic wrestling card, and all of the other ones are pretty cool too. We've got some action figures, we've got some other types of memorabilia, all about the Von Erichs. Let's do it.
CollectAWrestlePalooza, CollectAWrestlePalooza.
If you've never seen one of my top 5 lists, here's how it works. I go onto eBay, I type in a search term, I filter out auctions that are the highest price from the last few months, and I make a list of the top 5. I don't include auctions that have obvious shill bidding or that don't seem legitimate. In other words, if the item was relisted or if it just doesn't feel like the price was actually something that went through. I won't include that type of listing, but any other auction is up for grabs. I do like it when they have multiple bidders and many bids. And the reason I choose eBay and I choose eBay auctions is because I feel like that type of price is more indicative of the true market for the collectibles, whereas buy it nows or auctions that have less bidders might be more anomalies. Most of these had a lot of bidders. Most of these prices I feel pretty good about, and let's do it. Let's see what people paid for Von Erich stuff. We're going to start here with number 5, which is a Mattel Legends Series 6 Texas Tornado action figure, mint on card, that sold for $241. Kerry Von Erich is probably the most famous Von Erich, primarily because he was in the WWF and Vince labeled him the Texas Tornado, which anyone who was into Texas wrestling or knew how marketable the Von Erich name was would not understand that decision, nor do I. However, I think Vince just wanted to create a character that was a WWF character as opposed to ride on what was already established for his professional wrestling career. He wore the tassels. His boots were legendary because they hid the fact that he was missing one of his feet in a motorcycle accident. If you've seen the movie The Iron Claw, check it out. It tells the story, and you forget how amazing it is that this man performed on one foot, things that most people can't do on 2 feet. And he was good looking. He had long hair. Very popular with the fans. People loved Kerry Von Erich. I don't know why this particular action figure line is more expensive. I did look on eBay, and it appeared that the Mattel Legends series early releases were commanding some pretty high prices. The later series, when it got up to series 20, 25, they were more reasonably priced, $30, $40 each for a mint on card. But some of these early series action figures are commanding $200, $300. Viewers, if you know why, please leave a comment. I'm guessing it's just because it's an early series of a now legendary action figure line, which is the Mattel Legends. But if there's more to it in terms of the scarcity of Series 6, please let us know. I'm sure other viewers would like to be informed of that as well. Moving on here to number 4, another action figure, this one somewhat unique. It's a Kerry Von Erich Big Rubber Guys resin prototype that sold for $355. The reason this is unique is a few reasons. One, the major wrestling figure action line is Matt Cardona's company, and they're getting some legs. People are treating them more seriously, and in the aftermarket, you are seeing high prices, primarily for these big rubber guys, the demolition ones that everyone wanted Axe and Smash to come out when the LJNs were big, but only Axe came out, and Mark Cardona capitalized on that gap in the series and made 2 demolition wrestling figures, and people paid top dollar for them because I don't think that he releases large quantities. He releases enough so that there's still a lot of demand, so they seem like hot commodities. I've never seen a resin prototype from the big rubber guys, however, and also it seems odd to me that this one was in the plastic carded figure case as if it was a retail version, but they marketed it as a resin prototype. If you know more about this, please leave some comments and let us know. I'm interested. It doesn't really look like a resin prototype. I'm wondering if the photograph was the actual object you receive, or perhaps this was just indicative and you received something else entirely. If it is legit, $355 for a one-of-a-kind could be a great price, particularly if the major action figure line continues to expand and becomes very real as a collectible alongside the Hasbro's, LJNs, and Mattel's. Time will tell. Coming in at number 3 is probably my favorite item from this list. 1984 World Class Championship Wrestling Parade of Champions program from the night that Kerry Von Erich defeated Ric Flair for the NWA Heavyweight Championship. This was in memory of David Von Erich, who had passed prior to the event happening. It was a tribute. Regardless, there was a lot of David Von Erich call-outs and shout-outs and things like that. Kerry Von Erich famously wore a yellow rose jacket to the ring before he pinned Ric Flair. Little trivia, what did he pin him with? It was a backslide. And also, it seemed odd that they made the special stipulation that the belt would change hand even if it was a disqualification, and then they did not use a disqualification finish to change the belt. So why did they have that stipulation? Anyway, people don't remember this event for the wrestling. They remember it for the Von Erichs. And what a great piece of memorabilia from that event. This is a program that would have been sold at that event. It was big, 40, 50,000 people attended. But at that time, things were not widely distributed outside of just probably sold at the event itself, and extra copies would have, my guess, been discarded. So having one of these, I'm imagining, is pretty rare. This one looks to be in really good condition, and it just screams Von Erich. It screams Texas wrestling, and that's why it sold for $685. Coming in at number 2 is a really unique item, and this could be one of those that someone paid way too much, or maybe they stumbled on something that's a gold mine. This is a photo album, and it contains hundreds of pictures of the Von Erichs and other professional wrestlers from the time. If you look at the listing, you'll see Bruiser Brody, Ric Flair, Wahoo McDaniel, the Koloffs, the Von Erichs, of course, other professional wrestlers from the Legends of World Class, and real, authentic pictures from that time of all these wrestlers, snapshots, candid photographs. Now, that's a print. It's not the original master, but it's a first edition print. A photograph would be considered a first edition print because it's developed right from the camera. It would not go through a magazine printing process or something like that. So an authentic photograph of a celebrity is more valuable than a clipping from a magazine for many, many reasons, one of them being the quality of the print itself. So getting a scrapbook filled with hundreds of Von Erich photographs and other wrestlers of the time seems to me like a gold mine. There was also an autograph on one of them. I didn't show it here because it was not the greatest photograph of the autograph in the listing, but if you go on eBay, I'm sure you can find it and look at it yourself and let us know if it was a rare autograph or not. I couldn't quite make it out. But even without the autograph, $1,025 for a snapshot of Ric Flair in a steel cage next to Kevin Von Erich. I mean, come on. You can't get much better than that. What a great listing. One of the cool reasons that I look through eBay is I stumble on things like this every once in a while. Kind of makes me wish I had put a bid on it myself. $1,025. And number 1 is the most iconic Von Erich wrestling card of all time, the 1982 Wrestling All-Stars. This is the Series B card of Kerry Von Erich, sold in a PSA 9 for $3,630. These don't come up for sale very often at all. PSA 9 has a pop count of 4 on this card, and there are no PSA 10s, I don't believe. What a remarkable wrestling card. PSA 9, Pop 4, legendary Hall of Famer Kerry Von Erich from probably the most important wrestling card set in history. It's very easy to see why this sold for $3,630. If wrestling cards continue to have legs and sports cards continue to have legs, you can expect prices to go up from here. People like the 1982 Wrestling All-Stars set because it was cross-federation, meaning that it wasn't just the WWF superstars we know today. It included early photographs of stars like Hulk Hogan, Jake the Snake Roberts, Sergeant Slaughter, Kerry Von Erich, Jerry the King Lawler, a real who's who of professional wrestling at the time. Nowadays, if you get a card set, it's just the WWF stars, but back then it was the territories, so you saw more in these cards than you would see in a wrestling set nowadays. And also just the design, the history, the fact that they came out in 1982, all of those reasons make them quite valuable. And this is one of the stars of the set, the Kerry Von Erich PSA 9. Really, really great pickup for $3,630. And that does it. Give me some ideas. What other top fives would you like to see? Sometimes I'll pick a superstar and do it that way. Sometimes I'll pick a genre or a type of collectible and do that. If you have things you want to see, please leave comments and I'll read all the feedback. I love it. And it really helps me to stay motivated to keep making these videos. Have a great week. Be good to yourself. Happy collecting.
CollectAWrestlePalooza. CollectAWrestlePalooza.